Am I about to go to Hyde's Tower of Flame? Bro, don't you do this to me. Hyde's Tower of Flame is my favorite location in any Dark Souls game. I'm gonna go see. I'm gonna see Hyde's Tower of Flame. What? Oh my god!
What up, simps? I'm doing a very off-the-cuff video for you all real quick on the new Dark Souls 3 mod that just came out, at least the demo for it just came out, called the Archthrones. This is a completely new mod. It's an overhaul mod, meaning that, like, it doesn't just add some new things in the base game. It's like practically Dark Souls 4, from what I can tell. It does use quite a few old locations, like Hyde's Tower of Flame from Dark Souls 2, which was a real nice surprise for me. Hyde's Tower of Flame is my favorite location in any Dark Souls game, and I'm not kidding. It has the Deep Cathedral from Dark Souls 3. It has I never knew how to pronounce this. One of the DLCs for Dark Souls 2, the Snow Place. Also incredibly interesting to see. But not only does it have some new locations like Karthus, the desert planet Arrakis, it even has like a sandworm, which is kind of fun. Not only are the locations kind of like new and remade, there are new enemies, new animations, new bosses, new weapons, new spells. It's like I said, it's basically Dark Souls 4. This demo is almost a miracle. It's so thoroughly done. I don't know how long they've been working on it, but there is so much love and care and just passion thrown into this thing. I don't think anybody can deny that it is at least a quality mod, okay? Now, as a little bit of preface or preamble to my thoughts and feelings on this demo, I need to tell you, in case you don't know somehow, I really do not like Dark Souls 3. I've had a lot of people on my Lies of P video ask me specifically what it is about Dark Souls 3 that I do not like. I have a video that I'll link here in the little annotations, and I'll link it down below, but I will link you to that video, but I don't think you should watch it, because I don't think it's a very good video of mine. It's an older one, but I don't think I make a lot of good points in it, or the good points that I do make, I feel like I don't make a good job of explaining myself. So I'm going to remake that video right now, right here. My biggest issues with Dark Souls 3 are that it's way too fast, and that the combat being fast doesn't have any mechanical incentives to kind of like work with its speed. Bloodborne, for instance, has the rally system. So Bloodborne is probably faster than Dark Souls 3, if not the exact same speed. And Bloodborne is my favorite FromSoft game, okay? So where's the difference? Bloodborne has the rally mechanic, okay? And among other things, but that's what I want to specifically focus on for you here. Bloodborne's rally mechanic does a whole lot to make the speed of that game work for me, because it's so fast. The reaction time that you need for Bloodborne is significantly higher than you would need for Dark Souls 1 or 2 or Demon Souls, okay? Odds are, unless you're like really, really, really good at Bloodborne, you will be getting hit just as often, or if not more than a normal Souls game, right? So the speed of that game is countered by the rally system, which means that whenever you get hit, you have a small window of time to get back health by pushing into combat and being aggressive. Dark Souls 3, at least from the 3 times that I've beaten it, because I've beaten it 3 times, the base game, not any of the DLCs, the combat is just Dark Souls, but faster. The way you could argue that the way that they counter the speed mechanically in Dark Souls 3 is by, at least from what I can tell, basically just allowing you to have a shitload of Estus flasks to constantly make sure that you have enough health. I think in Dark Souls 1, I forget what it's called, the system where you can like charge up your Estus flask at very specific bonfires. And I think the most you can get out of that is 10, maybe more, I can't remember. In Dark Souls 2, the average player will probably max out their Estus flask uses around 7 or 8. And in Dark Souls 3, it's not uncommon to get to like 12 or 13. if not around 9 or 10. Bloodborne has the vial system, which, works essentially the same as an Estus flask, but the fact that you can regain health in the middle of combat does a lot to make that game work, in my opinion, okay? That's my little remake of my Dark Souls 3 video. A very concise, single reason as to why I don't think Dark Souls 3 is as good as I think a lot of people think it is. Now, what do I think about the Archthrones? I think I love it. It's really good. There are just enough little tweaks and changes to Dark Souls 3's base systems that make it work and make it interesting mechanically for me. It still doesn't have like a rally mechanic equivalent, but it's been a few years since I played Dark Souls 3. I think the last time I played it was 2021, but I've recently been replaying Elden Ring. As long ago as like 2 days ago, I played Elden Ring from me recording this video. I don't know if Elden Ring is the same speed as DS3, but I'm under the assumption that it's roughly the same speed as Dark Souls 3. Roughly. So this is what I'm basing my opinion on the Archthrones on when comparing it to Dark Souls 3. It's kind of like Elden Ring, sort of. The Archthrones, to me, feels a little bit slower, if not significantly so, than base Dark Souls 3. There's whole new, like, movesets for, like, even old enemies in the game, but all of these new enemies are more akin to the types of fights that I like in a Dark Souls game. In Dark Souls 3, there's a lot of, like, just really fast, quick, timed enemies, and a lot of, like, weird enemies. There's less kind of one-on-one encounters in Dark Souls 3, as I would prefer there to be, with how fast it is. And in the Archthrones, it does focus a lot more on just dudes with swords, weird dudes with swords, and then third are, like, monster things. And the slightly slower speed, the more kind of duelist nature of the game and the combat, there's two things potentially going on right now. One, the Archthrones is just an incredibly well done demo, or two, maybe I just like Dark Souls 3 now. So Elden Ring did quite a bit to change the combat. In my opinion, Elden Ring is the best version of Dark Souls combat that From Software has ever made. The guard counter, the fact that you can, like, swap weapon arts or whatever onto other weapons, leaving all these, like, variety of gameplay options, as well as the jumping and stuff like that. There's just a bunch of little tweaks that Elden Ring added to its combat from Dark Souls that makes it way more enjoyable than any Souls game that they've made prior. And the Archthrones takes just a couple things from from Elden Ring here and there and adds it to Dark Souls 3, where it doesn't, like, clog up the Dark Souls part of the game, right? It only just kind of, like, fleshes out what's there already and makes it more refined and better, I think. Like, the Archthrones has the guard counter. It has a flask system, I think. I haven't found this other flask, but there's, like, these new ingredients that you can, like, harvest, and you can combine them to make like a potion that gives, like, a very specific or like a combined assortment of, like, effects. So right out of the gate, I think that the gameplay feel of the Archthrones is good. I think it's far better than Dark Souls 3. Not quite as good as Elden Ring, but still very, very solid. The jump that Elden Ring gives is just, you kind of forget how important that is and how much better that just makes exploring the game world in a Souls game. There were so many times playing through the Archthrones where I was just like, I came up to, like, a little step or something I couldn't go over, and I, like, hit the A button. I wasn't jumping, and I was like, oh man, wouldn't it be nice? But how do I feel about the level design? I've only explored really 2 levels. I've explored the Deep Catacombs, or the Deep Cathedral, sorry, and the War-Torn Village, which are both levels from Dark Souls 3. Although the War-Torn Village is a variant of, I can't remember the name of the level, but it's where the big rotting tree is, like that whole area. It's a rework of that. And I was showing this to a friend of mine that is a big Dark Souls 3's fan, and they weren't sure, but they're pretty positive that the the level design has been tweaked and modified, so it's not like a one-to-one. I think there's some new areas, some new locations. There's a couple new boss fights there, and the boss fights in that area are very good, actually. There's like a new version of the Cleric Beast. There's like a new Tower Knight, which is pretty tricky. Oh, and then there's like a whole new thing. It's called like the Omen of Doom or something. I have footage of it. I'll be playing it right here. He's scary as fuck. The Deep Cathedral is, I believe, reworked. For sure, it looks different, but there's a new boss at the end of it that is a neat variant on the lame boss that's at the end of that level. The Deacons of the Deep, I think. But the level design, since it is a lot of recurring locations, it's good. It's solid. I haven't gotten very far in Hyde's Tower of Flame because unfortunately it was the first place I went to, and I quickly realized that I was drastically underleveled for it. I was doing almost no damage to anything, so I haven't gotten very far in that area. I haven't even made it to like the halfway point of the normal level, but all of Hyde's Tower seems to be renovated, and it looks like there's a whole new like dungeon in it, which I am very excited for. It's just some of the new... I haven't messed around with a lot of the new weapons. I've only seen like one or two. I think I'm using a new weapon. It's like the Emissary Blade. I think it's a new weapon, but maybe I'm not. Maybe it's not. It's been a minute since I played Dark Souls 3, so I might just be misremembering. But this is a demo. I've gotten like 9 hours out of it so far, and I am anxious to know when it ends, because this is a very long demo. You have access to... Oh, how have I not mentioned that? This works on a Demon Souls level system. Not like a leveling system, but like the levels. So you have like a Nexus, you have like a Majula or like a Firelink Shrine. But then there are these Archthrones that are starting points to all of the levels in the game. And that's exactly how Demon Souls worked, and that's exactly how this works. So you get like a really neat kind of thing that happens that's actually surprisingly a lot like Elden Ring. And just like open world games in general. Well, I guess not in general, because a lot of open world games use like level scaling. But what's great about Elden Ring is that if you get to a location in Elden Ring and you're like, oh fuck, I can't fight any of these things, you have the option of just going somewhere else. And in Dark Souls 1, 2, and 3, if you're like getting your ass kicked, you just kind of more often than not have to just push through it, and that's a roadblock for a lot of people. In this, like I said earlier, I started at Hyde's Tower of Flame and I was getting my shit rocked, so I just said, okay, well, I'll leave and I'll come back when I'm leveled up, but I'll leave now and find a place that I can reliably kill stuff in. And that's exactly what I did. And then I just progressed, and then I kind of hit a roadblock there, and I went to a different location. I found the Deep Cathedral. I progressed for a little bit, went back to the second one, progressed a little bit more there, went back to Hyde's Tower, still couldn't get far in it, said, okay, well, I'll come back again, went to a different location, and, I just kept making a little progression here, a little progression there, a lot of progression here, a little bit more there, And I think that system is actually what the Soul series should be doing, I think, a little bit more often. Just because it gives players outlets, or it lets players maneuver around difficult parts and still feel like they're making progress. I think, I love the interconnectivity of Dark Souls 1 and Elden Ring, but getting stuck sucks, And the Archthrones so far has done a very good job at letting the player keep momentum in their progression, And I think that's commendable, especially from a mod team. This isn't a FromSoft game. This is a mod. It's wild. I'm having a lot of fun with it. I want to keep playing it, and I knew that if I just booted it up and played more of it, I wouldn't get any work done, and I wanted to make at least a video on this as soon as possible. So the Archthrones potentially has converted me into a Dark Souls 3 fan, but if it hasn't, just be aware that it made a Dark Souls 3 hater love a Dark Souls 3 mod. This is highly worth your time. If you like Dark Souls 3, odds are you're going to love this. And even if you don't like Dark Souls 3, maybe give it a go anyway, because I don't like Dark Souls 3, and I've had more fun with this mod than I've had in a standard Dark Souls game in a long time. It's great, and I can't wait to see what new locations I get to find. I'm curious to see if there are like entirely new areas in old locations. I'm curious to see how strong the level design is in those sections, and I'm curious to see all these new bosses. I saw the trailer has like a bunch of new enemy types that I haven't seen still. I'm very excited. If I didn't have a show today with my band, if you say so, here's a little video, link it. I would be playing it right now after I get done making this video. But I have to go do a show, damn it. But yeah, those are my thoughts and feelings on the Archthrones, the mod. Love your face, love your show. Thanks for watching.